Rachel, I see you. So good to see you. Jared Ray is on the call. What?
Here I am.
Sam, thank you for joining. You guys, this is so great to see you all. It's like the joy of my life when I get to see your faces.
Carly's in the dark with me. Hey, Carly. The sun's been
Hey,
setting as I've been sitting here.
Lori's here. Fantastic. Oh man, such
Good
a good.
morning.
Hey,
Good
such a
morning,
great.
Lori.
Good morning. I'm not on video today. I'm not feeling
Oh,
the best, so I'm like, I don't want to share it and have everybody go, oh my gosh.
no
No
sweat.
problem.
No video necessary.
Well, I know we're running just a smidge behind. That's partially my fault. I'm in Texas right now, in Austin, Texas. And so we're at 24 participants, so we're gonna get going here any second. We had a lot of people sign up for this LinkedIn presentation, and for good reason, because Miranda's gonna tell us all of her secrets of how she's essentially become a household name thanks to LinkedIn and thanks to her amazing insights and the way she utilizes the tool. So Jaron Boyer's here. How exciting. Anne, thank you guys for coming. Josh Dan, what's up, my friend? There's so many, yeah, like I said, so many good people.
Samantha.
Samantha.
Hey,
Samantha,
Jen.
Samantha and I worked together for 8 years at Pete's.
Oh,
No
cool.
way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Samantha. Hopefully we get to meet you in person someday soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I am also new to being the original host. So Miranda's like Miranda's our expert on this one. Okay, so here's the deal. Miranda and I met on LinkedIn, which is bizarre. We orbited around each other in the coffee industry for, I don't know, 20 years, something like that.
Must have been.
And yeah, lived in the same cities, you know, had all of similar jobs, similar social circles, and we did not cross paths until LinkedIn. And that's the power of this tool, is like once we were able to connect and get to know each other thanks to LinkedIn, we were able to form the Coffee MBA, which has been incredible and is growing rapidly. And thanks to Miranda's usage of LinkedIn, we now have the Coffee MBA, and we have this incredible community here that's joining us today. So without further ado, I'm going to let Miranda take over. And as you know, you can be dropping things into chat. We love chatter in the chat box. Lots of good conversations. Just remember to stay respectful and kind to one another, because that's what we're about here. And then the other thing is, at the end of this webinar, please make sure to fill out the survey, because you'll find that Miranda and I live on feedback. We love feedback. It's what we eat for breakfast. And so please just make sure to fill out the survey at the end and get in contact with us, refer people, whatever you can do. So without further ado, Miranda, the show is yours.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. I'm Miranda Caldwell, and I love LinkedIn. Not sure if you've noticed. So I have a lot to cover, and I'm going to try to do my best, but I might speed up at some point and do a lighter touch because I don't know, when you love something so much, it's easy to go deep, right, coffee people? Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. Why? Why should you do LinkedIn? So I'll share a little bit about my personal story just to share, you know, the potential.
You're on mute.
Yep, I just unmuted myself. Got it. And then also, so I'll share my story just to share like what the potential is here, and then I'll share how to do it. It's obviously going to be super high level, but I have studied LinkedIn for 2 years. I took a course about it when I first discovered, oh, LinkedIn is more than just like a digital resume. People are using it in a new way, like social media. Interesting. And so I started figuring it out. So I'm going to share it with you. So why? Why should you do LinkedIn? Well, I was really unhappy with my career and where I was. I was working for a corporation outside of coffee and really wanted a big change. I got COVID and I got like the Delta variant. I was really out for a while, and it caused me to really rethink things. So I saw what was happening on LinkedIn during that downtime, and I was like, I think I want to do this. So I decided to become a whole food plant-based coach. That was my best idea for what I should do on LinkedIn because I was actively trying to get away from my coffee career. And so you can see here the type of post I was doing. Do one thing today that will strengthen your simple whole food cooking muscle. Trying to help people do this. You can see at the bottom, my impressions are very low. I had 3 likes or bits of engagement. I had 8 comments because I had some really nice friends that I was meeting on LinkedIn who are commenting on my posts. But I basically was, started from scratch with 500 connections who I had had already, and just was struggling again with like my coffee thing. One day I was out for a walk and was like, wait a second, I'm getting my MBA. I've been in coffee at this point. I had been in coffee for 20 years. There's an intersection here of like what I have to offer. Maybe that's what I should do. So that's how it started. And this is how it's going. Now I know who I am on LinkedIn and know who I am in general and in this industry. Mostly one day at a time. I'm a work in progress, but you can see here, my engagements are a little bit higher. This one was 4,900 impressions. This was just from like a week ago. I had 51 comments and 7 reposts. That's where the magic is. And we're going to talk a lot about comments. Like that's really, in my opinion, the key to LinkedIn. So what I want you to know and be really clear on is that my following is tiny. So I got started at the same time on LinkedIn with some other folks who are still doing it, who now have like tens of thousands of followers, and they started in the same space as me. Now, it took me a while to get my feet. As I said, I was like, cook whole foods, eat plant-based. And so it took me a minute. But also, my audience and my industry is super niche. And so, other people, like I have a friend on LinkedIn who speaks to lawyers. He's a former lawyer. Well, there's a lot more lawyers on LinkedIn than there are coffee people, right? So he's done great. He's a ghostwriter now for lawyers. I mean, he took time to figure it out, but he has a lot more followers than me. But the important part is not really the engagement numbers. It's the, well, what is this doing for me? So here's what it's done for me. There were people watching me that I didn't know were watching me. We call them lurkers, and they don't engage. So they don't give you a like. They don't comment. They don't direct message you. They're just watching. Now, I was a lurker too, because the funny thing about the LinkedIn algorithm is that if you like something, someone's going to see that you liked it. And because I was really insecure, not saying everyone who lurks is insecure, but I was feeling insecure. I didn't want anybody to see anything that I was doing. And so I never engaged with anything. But those lurkers reached out to me and asked me to speak at Rico. Literally all because of what I was sharing on LinkedIn. And from speaking at Rico, when I was there, I met one of the founders of Cropster. And I said, hey, I want to introduce myself. And your company is actually in my Rico talk. And we chatted a bit. Well, just last month, I was invited by him to come speak at their global event for their entire team. And so that's because of LinkedIn, right? So I got the original opportunity because of LinkedIn. I met him, and then we were able to stay engaged with each other over LinkedIn. So the moral of my story is learn to love the lurkers. even if you don't feel like you're getting a lot of engagement or a lot of numbers on LinkedIn, as long as you are posting and putting yourself out there and being clear, people are watching. And so now we're going to get into a little bit of like some of the tips for how you can do LinkedIn and be a little bit more successful. I see a lot of people posting. No, I'm going to backtrack on that. I'm starting to see more coffee people or coffee industry folks posting on LinkedIn, which is super exciting. I wish I could give them all feedback. I guess I could, but based on the course I took and like the learning I've done over the past couple of years and like the changes in the algorithm that are always happening, there are just some things to know and to understand about how it works. And a lot of this is going to be probably pretty simple and familiar, but hopefully it's helpful. Okay, who are you? What do you stand for? And who cares about that? Those are the most important things. And so you're like who you are and what you have to say. So my intersection was specialty coffee and business, right? I had a fresh, shiny MBA and lots of time in the coffee industry. So that's the value I have to provide. So who's my audience? Anybody who needs help with that. So specialty coffee people, et cetera. So these are the things that you have to know first. Otherwise, you're going to be a whole food plant-based coach. And no, people don't really need that. That's not specific enough. The more specific you can get, the more people will react to it. They'll be like, you're in my head, you know? So as an example, if I have a coffee roaster manufacturer, like if I'm Probot, my audience and who I'm speaking to is going to be different than if I'm the coffee roaster manufacturer Bellwether. We kind of have different audiences. So who is my current target? My current target, if I'm Probot, is going to probably be like medium size coffee roasting companies who are existing. Bellwether, it's going to be more like cafe owners who are interested in roasting coffee. So that's my current target audience. So I want to speak to the things that like I know I can help them with. And then my future target is is the people who might find themselves in that situation where they need a coffee roasting machine. So a current barista who someday will be a cafe owner, who someday will be a coffee roastery owner. Like who are those people in the future? So one of my favorite clients right now, he was living on a different continent for working for a different company when we first connected on LinkedIn. And literally 2 years later, he's hired me on the same continent I'm on and working for an entirely different company. So there's that future audience and like trust building that you're doing over a long period of time. And again, like, and I stress a long period of time, like working at social media like LinkedIn is a long play. You're showcasing your skills and what you have to offer over time. Okay. I need to go faster. So I feel like I'm just like slamming this stuff down your throats because there's so much to tell you about. Okay, so there are some key elements to LinkedIn. One is posting. 2 would be engagement. 3, direct messages. 4, your profile. And then 5, there's all these bonus levels if you're into that. So we're going to walk through them, but we're going to talk mostly about posting. Okay, so here's the trick. If you want your company to get more exposure, do not post from a company page. The algorithm does not love them. What they love is people. And so do you need to post from your company page? Yeah, probably. You probably need to have one on LinkedIn as if it's like a landing page. What we do at the Coffee MBA is like we repost things from like me and Heather that we've posted, and then the Coffee MBA will repost it. It never gets as much engagement as when we post them ourselves. But that's just the deal. So you have to just kind of know that. Now, what I have found through talking with people is that posting is the hardest thing. It's vulnerable. You are putting yourself out there and you're like, oh my God, you know, right now I have over 4,000 followers. 4,000 people are going to see what I'm saying. Yikes. But it's a muscle and it atrophies. And then it, you know, like if I stop posting for a few weeks, I get freaked out again. So I'm trying to stay in my cadence of posting regularly to keep that muscle like moving and strong. But the posts are so magical because you get to design how the world sees you. You get to design how the world sees your company through your posts. So I would, you know, don't sleep on them. Put yourself out there. I will root for you. I will be in your comments. I will cheer you on. I promise. And also, in my opinion, the goal of posting is engagement. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. So what makes a great post? Well, you might want to consider images and videos, things like that. These are some of my top posts here that have images. This one was a GIF that had like sprinkles pouring out of this person's mouth, and people just went crazy over that GIF. Like it was arresting, you know, especially in a LinkedIn feed. It stood out enough that I had 43 comments and 57 bits of engagement. And then this wolf one did okay. So that's great. And these are really small numbers for like LinkedIn people, but for me, they're big. They're good. I mean, that's 4,000 people that like looked at that. I don't know. That feels like something because again, lurkers. You don't have to use a picture or a video or something though. I'm going to show you in a minute. I just had an all text post that did really well, but it had some other elements that were helpful. So you need a hook. That's like the big one. You got to have a hook. So these are some posts with some hooks. So this is the all text post I was just mentioning that I did recently. There seems to be a tension between what consumers want and what specialty coffee leaders and business owners want. And then you want people to click see more. That is where the power is. Justin Welsh, he's the one who has the course that I took. He's like the big dog. He has 500,000 followers. An idea that changed my business and will change yours too. The 30 for 30 exchange. You're like, hell yes, what is this? Click see more. I'm sharing this with permission from Andre Eierman. The financial realities of running a small specialty coffee shop. All of us specialty coffee people are like, tell me everything. And look at the likes and the comments at the bottom. That was a really good one for like engaging the community, getting people talking. And then another one from Justin Welsh, observation, going viral is meaningless. That's also controversial, right? So he's twisting it around something, oh, everybody wants to go viral. Well, no, you don't. And that causes you to click in and say, oh, what are these three simple things I need to do? So what else makes a great post is formatting. So this was my text only post on the left. And you can see Justin Welsh's post on the right. Blocks of text don't do well. This is true for writing on the internet. If you write on a website, if you do any copy on websites or anything like that, you want a lot of space, short sentences, simple language. It just kills the grad student in me to write like this because I'm like, I need to communicate how smart I am and I need to get a really good grade. But the opposite is true online. You just want it to be easy. People are there for easy. So, sometimes I use emojis as like bullet points. But if you see an emoji and then a paragraph, space, emoji, paragraph, I instantly read that as ChatGPT. Just saying. So maybe that's my bias right now. But this stuff matters. Okay. So posting. I could go on and on and on forever about posting because there's also, you want to provide value, you want to be entertaining or educational or, do something that people will respond to. But being controversial has been the most successful for me. My most controversial posts are the ones that people comment on the most. And like, that really puts a stake in the ground for you of like who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're all different and that's good. Okay, number 2 is engagement, which is the best part ever. It's where the magic happens. I have started almost exclusively using hearts on LinkedIn because I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. I get so excited. And I'm like, I'm using hearts all over this business social media, but I don't care. Comments are a gift. You are giving someone a gift when you comment on their post. And I try my hardest to comment on as many of your posts as I possibly can, but please, you got to give me something to say. So if it's just like make it something that people can react to. Even if I always do a little like question at the bottom, usually nobody answers the question, but they're responding to something else, but they feel comfortable. Oh yeah, okay, I can engage with this. What happens when I comment, this is true for everyone. I'm not saying I'm special. When I comment on your post, my network sees your post. So that's this like insane organic growth and organic reach that you're getting on LinkedIn. And so more people will come and comment and more people will come and comment. And that's where you have, like I showed on Andre's post, that's where you start having conversations in the comments, which is like, mwah. I mean, we get so far, like people have said fascinating things in the comments on my posts and I love it. And I learn and I grow, right? But we're all like doing better when we comment. So it's totally great to like something, heart something, insightful something. There used to be the curious one, which I was like, who uses that? So that's nice to do, but the best thing you can do is comment on someone's post. Let me make sure I'm not missing something. Yep. Okay. So the next is direct messages. My TLDR on this one is don't be weird. Like pitch slapping is what we call it, where you connect with someone and the moment they accept your connection request, you go in their DMs and you're like, here's my business, buy from me. That's the first way to get blocked or unfollowed. Actually, the first way is to hit on someone in the DMs, which I must not be LinkedIn's type because I don't get that ever. But I know people who get that all the time. It's disgusting. But really, the power of the DM is that when someone responds to your direct message, they start seeing your posts in their feed. And so that's cool, right? Like all of a sudden the algorithm's pushing your stuff to them. But beyond that, you're developing real relationships. Like I have friends that I talk to weekly that I met on LinkedIn that I've never met in person. I met my business partner on LinkedIn. I've met clients, like so much has happened for me on LinkedIn and the direct messages have been like a really big part of that. Like I said, all of these I could go on forever, like especially their profile. Okay, so your profile, it is basically your landing page, your website, your landing page for you. And you want to think about it like a sales page. So with a sales page, the copy's short, it's action oriented, and it's not about me, Miranda Caldwell. It's about you, my audience. So the more you can shift the language to be about your audience's pain, if I'm Probat, I'm growing, you, my audience, you're growing and you need a bigger roaster, you need more volume. I don't know how they're selling their stuff, but like you hopefully you get my point of like, they need to speak to that pain. And if I had to say there was like a one most important part of your profile, it's your headline, which is this bit right here. And the reason it's important is because you take it with you. So this is a comment I made. I think this one is from Andre's post that did well the other day. That was interesting. I mean, his posts do well, but like you can see the beginning of that headline. So the first, I don't know how many characters that is. That's the most important part. And it should be enough where people know what you do, but also it you want more. You want someone to go to your profile. Um, you want them to keep lurking. You want them to click on your website and whatever it is that you feature. And some people, even with their work experience, they'll even craft the language because you have quite a bit of text in your work experience that you can use, and they'll craft that as like another part of like how they're selling what they're capable of to you from that specific role. So you could really, I mean, some people just sell like profile audits, and help people with that. So I'm going to wrap it up here. And so there's bonus levels of LinkedIn, which is basically like, I don't know if you noticed, I have this top business strategy voice badge, which is like kind of silly. All it means is I contributed to some articles that AI wrote, and anyone can do this. You just have to do it enough, and people upvote your responses enough that you get the badge. I think mine's about to expire. I got a quick run in like, I don't know. You can do this too. But there's lots of opportunities on LinkedIn. Like you can put newsletters on LinkedIn, you can write articles, you can do audio lives, you can do events like this, and this could have been done through LinkedIn. You can be what's called like a creator on LinkedIn. And one warning I would send to you about this is that you want to own your audience. And so if everything you do is on LinkedIn, you don't own that audience. LinkedIn does. And I've been locked out of my account. So if you act like a bot, so if you connect with too many people too quickly and you send them a note and that note is like copy and pasted in the same note that you send to everyone, it's going to lock you out. It's going to say, you're feeling a little bit too much like a bot. We don't want that here. And you might not have access to your account for a few days. Some people lose access to their account for a long time. So you don't want that to happen, especially if you're trying to like sell your company, sell your services or whatever. Yeah. So that's it. That's like I feel like that was just I feel like I was sprinting. Am I sweating? That was a lot in a short amount of time. But I want you to know that we have a survey because we want to hear if this was valuable and how we can improve for next time. I can put that in the chat. And then also, here's the survey link. Also, as I was doing this, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to help people with this. So I did open up just 2 days in my calendar. If anybody wants to, here we go. If anybody wants to schedule time to like go deeper on your posts, your profile, anything like that, there are just 2 days. That's all I'm going to do it. This is not a thing I do, but it was just an idea that I had coming out of this. So you're welcome to check out that link too.
Great. Miranda, we have a couple questions for you if you're ready for
Please.
questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
Should I stop sharing my?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
One of the questions was from Maria that said, I like the idea of having a hook. Oh, here's the question. But how can we be cautious and avoid writing things that sound like a scam or trying to sell desperately?
I try really hard not to sell in my posts. I mean, I have to, right? Like at some point, like I want you to sign up for the newsletter. I want you to listen to the podcast. I want you to buy our courses. I want you to, whatever. But but also it's like, if you just prove to people enough that like, you know what you're talking about, you have something valuable and of interest, over time, people will seek you out. And so I think it's more about the content and like the value of that delivery and not the sales pitch, if that makes sense.
Right. So you're positioning yourself as an expert to a point where they're like, I want to go buy the things that she's selling.
Yeah.
I get it.
Of course, some people actually don't position themselves as the experts. They they're almost like the students, and they're like, here are the things I learned when reading, 16 books last week.
Yeah. Another question came from Matthew Ship. He says, how do I make a hook that doesn't overpromise? Like they all seem to do.
Yeah, some do. To me, it's like, if we go back and look at like Andre's hook, for example, I feel like hooks are something that I struggle the most with. But let's see his. So it's like the financial realities of running a small specialty coffee shop. That I don't think he's overpromising there. If you click see more, and if you don't follow Andre, you should. He literally goes through and breaks down the financials, but I don't think he's not being like clickbaity when he says that. It's not clickbait. It's not like, your life will change. It's like, I don't know, this is real. And I think for mine as well, there does seem to be a tension between what consumers want and specialty coffee leaders want, but it's intriguing enough of like a word like tension. What is that tension? And then I go through it pretty extensively. So like I would say, don't be afraid of giving too much away. If that,
Yeah, that's awesome. And keep it short because nobody's stopping to read a block of text.
No.
Here's a great question from Carrie Elliott. It says, what would you recommend for an owner operator coffee roasting company in the question mark? And then I think an additional question is in the profile page. So I think in general, like what would you recommend for them on LinkedIn? And then what should they include in their profile page?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely talk about being a, carrier, a coffee roaster, like own that, talk about that, and also talk about your product, like basically talk about what differentiates you from other coffee. And especially targeting your local environment. So like, carrier very local. So who are those people in that community and why would they buy from you versus, I don't know, anyone else in Portland or whatever.
Yeah. There was another comment in here that said that there seems to be fewer coffee shops and coffee shop owners and retailers engaging with LinkedIn. And do you have any advice for folks like that are like that have single unit coffee shops or something like that and how they would engage with LinkedIn?
That's interesting. I feel like it's increasing. Like since I started on LinkedIn, I really feel like it's increasing the number of people I'm seeing there. Or maybe it's just I'm starting to like find those people or whatever. But I think single unit coffee shop owners, like I would really, it's all about the audience. So who are you and who's your audience? So if I am really truly focusing on my local environment, I would connect to people in my local environment. I wouldn't connect necessarily to other coffee shop owners across the US or something. I would connect with people who are like the lawyers or the doctors or like whoever it is that feels like reflects your customer in your community, and reach out to them because they might not know about you, or they might learn about coffee from you on LinkedIn if you're posting about, coffee knowledge or anything like that, which people are doing. People from Atomic in Boston post like really simple coffee stuff about like grind fresh and, these kinds of things because like their audience doesn't necessarily all know that.
Yeah, I love the owner of Atomic, I forget his name, but he has a really good LinkedIn strategy for his company. And you can tell that he's kind of regionalized, localized to that community, but I follow him in Oregon. So Carrie's follow-up question is, should I cross posting from other social media platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn? And I know you and I had this same conversation about the Coffee MBA because I wanted our freak flag to fly a little bit heavier on Instagram than on LinkedIn, but you felt like maybe those were similar engagements. What would you say about it?
I have found success with being really vulnerable on LinkedIn and sharing. Like I share probably, too openly. I'm just that kind of person that like, I don't care sharing my feelings. It's fine. And, sharing details about my life to a certain point. And so I'm okay with that. And the audience there seems to really be okay with that. What I would say is I wouldn't post a picture on LinkedIn without text that's meaningful. So I think on Instagram, it's a little easier to do that. Um, and then, but if I was then cross posting that picture from Instagram to LinkedIn, I'd probably write something about like, you know, like what, like I've mentioned, like with a hook to that target. So something I, don't have time to get into is when you post a picture, you only have 2 lines above that picture before the see more. So you got to pack in that interest and value in those first 2 lines, but you still want to have some meat on the bone, even if you're posting just a picture or video.
B. Oritz has a question, and I'm so sorry if I butcher this because I'm not sure I totally understand it. But you mentioned that sharing posts specifically like of the place that this person works is not necessarily a good idea, even if they provide their own take or add their own perspective. Do you feel like if somebody's working for a company, is it okay to post about that company if you have your own take and your own perspective? B, if I butchered that, please jump in.
So can you post on LinkedIn about your company? I
If
mean,
you're
that's
providing your own take.
that's up to you and your company. People are gonna, when I worked at my food tech startup that I talk about often, that was my last job before coming back to coffee. The CEO pulled me aside at a company event and he said, "You need to make a choice." He's like, "I see your posts on LinkedIn." He was a lurker about coffee. And he's like, "I don't think your heart's in it here. You need to, he was like, "I want your shower thoughts or I want you to go do your coffee thing." And I was like, "That's creeping me out. You're not getting my shower thoughts. I'm going to try this coffee thing." So it's like, founders, CEOs, whoever, they feel it. And you really got to work that out. That was a mistake I made. I didn't have that conversation, although I'm glad that all happened.
Yes. Yeah, it can be tricky because you don't want to say anything proprietary about your company. You also don't want to badmouth your company, whatever that like don't bite the hand that feeds you kind of moment. And then Rachel Apple had a good point that she brought up, which is using the term punching down on ideas, products, concepts that are different than whatever the post is trying to sell. So you're basically ripping on that in your posts. I feel like you touched on that with being controversial and maybe it's a fine line, but what are your thoughts around that? Punching down on something that you're reposting.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, my goal is to, we're all about the rising tide raises all ships. And so we want to raise the tide. And I tried not to be critical unless it's my personal experience, like I will talk broadly about the industry that I have not felt very accepted in the industry until recently, until I started talking on LinkedIn. But I also accept with that responsibility that that's an inside job and that was my work to do. Right. So it's like, I'm okay with saying that criticism because I'm also saying, well, maybe it's my responsibility, but I don't like that either. The criticism. And I hope I don't do that. But I probably do. But here's the thing. But yeah, but you don't know, right? Like you kind of think you might not, but like maybe you are. So I don't know. All I know is that I really agree with that comment of it doesn't really help anyone to criticize.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
but what I like in the comments is that sometimes people are honest and they honestly share their opinion without criticizing, which is like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I do also want to say that, Miranda has helped me so much with my LinkedIn presence. And I also felt very vulnerable and scared to start putting myself out there in the world. And she really is an amazing coach when it comes to even just like the offhanded comments that she'll tell me about my LinkedIn. So I encourage you to use her, and have her help you with your LinkedIn if you're interested. One thing that she encouraged is learning about your marketing funnels. And so, there's a woman out there who talks about it has to be, what is it, Miranda? Controversial, insightful, Can you
It's
remind
like
us what
controversial, aspirational, or relatable.
relatable? So I'm still learning my own personal identity on LinkedIn, and I tried to do a controversial post to which Miranda did a clapback on. And I think some of you guys thought we were in a real fight. And I'm okay with that to some degree because it's like the Hailey Bieber, Selena Gomez thing where they're actually just giggling behind the scenes about it. But the reality is it didn't feel right to me to have a controversial post for me necessarily. And it didn't, like some people might thrive on that. And it wasn't right for me. So my point is, I think finding your own voice and your own personal brand is so mission critical to like what feels right to who you are out in public.
That's a good point.
Are there any other questions for Miranda? You guys have had so much good chatter in the comment boxes. We're coming up to the end of our time here, but we probably have time for one or two more questions or a closing comment from Miranda.
Well, Kevin makes a really great point in the chat where there's over 1 billion users on LinkedIn, less than 1% post anything. So if you're posting at all, kudos to you because that stands out. It's like a good opportunity right now. I think it's a really good time to start if you're willing. And I know it's scary, but like there's people out there to support you. And I try to post as often as I can and as consistently as I can. I didn't mention that. I try to post at least 5 days a week. And people tell me like when I open LinkedIn, all I see is your posts. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's scary. I don't know. But I think what that tells you is like not a lot of people are posting. So it is a good opportunity right now. Thanks, y'all.
Well, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything really quick. Yeah, so you guys, thank you so much for your time. Please fill out the survey. Please, take advantage of Miranda's offer to help you, and please dial back in the future. We appreciate your time. We know it's valuable, and we will be at SCA. We're always available through our website. Big things are coming with the Coffee MBA, so stay tuned. Don't forget. And we really, really appreciate you guys.
And we have a new podcast episode coming out tomorrow. It's about, you guys get the inside. It's about Blue Bottle and mergers and acquisitions. So with
And
a lot
there's
of
lots of personal information about Miranda in it.
of dirt on my personal life if you're interested in that kind of thing. Thank you all.